Ready. What's going on out there, YouTube family? It's the same lady here representing Team JVS. I'm back here again for another review for WandaVision. This is episode 9, the season finale of WandaVision. What did I think about this episode? I think that the good things I'll say about it is that the visual effects were amazing. Like Vision fighting Vision, definitely. It was one of the most, breathtaking like visual aesthetics of this season, of this series that they've done. Definitely, I think that the emotional beats were there. Like you felt for Wanda, you felt for her circumstance and through what was happening. You also, had like a good foundation to base all that emotion on. Like they set up a lot of different things for you to feel this way. Although I did know that this is all going to be how it ended. I personally, there's no way anybody didn't know that this is going to be the backdrop of the way that this show is going to conclude, at least in the sense of just Wanda and, the kids and Vision, like how it's all going to have to come to a conclusion, as it were. There are two end credit scenes. One ties to a different show, and the very last end credit scene, which I didn't even know was there until last minute, ties to something that is connected to the comics. That's all I can really say without spoiling it. But if you've read House of M, if you know, any kind of connection of that, let's just say it implies something about someone, a not necessarily a good person. So I think that was the connection for Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man. That's the only connection that I see. They did also give us, like, I guess the show in and of itself was about the origin story of Scarlet Witch. That's what the show was about. Now let's talk about the things I didn't like. Everything else. I mean, I'll say this. Agatha Harkness, I think that she definitely works in line with as a good villain. I think she definitely, did some really dope things, but I didn't foresee her 2 episodes in a row, like technically 3, being the main villain. Like it's kind of like she was the villain of the story, and maybe that was an expectational issue for me, but I think the perception was that Wanda was the vision. Wanda was the actual villain, and she technically is. They definitely do go and elaborate on that with the moment that happens in the town. That I think that definitely, sculpts that picture and makes you understand the gravity and the weight of it, and they don't like let it go. She hurt people, like whether consciously or unconsciously, like she did it. I think they executed that well, but the perception was, that there's a bigger arc here. The whole point of the series was that this is going to further the MCU. And technically, it took 9 episodes and 1 end credit scene to do that. And that's not cool. That's not cool. I'm not really jaded about it. I just know you guys are going to feel a way about it. And then also, like, I don't think it did any services that Elizabeth Olsen was comparing certain sequences to being like on the same level as Luke Skywalker. It didn't help that Paul Bettany was like, I had a really great conversation with somebody. I've been wanting to work with them all my life. Shouldn't have said that. It didn't help. It drew people into the show, but it did not help. Like, this man is going to be hated. And people are going to have a bad taste in their mouth because, even though the show leaves Easter eggs in this, and I'll talk about them, they also did a lot of groundwork to make people perceive that things were going to be as they were. And that whether it was just talking about mutants, or I actually made a list. Like I made an actual list yesterday. I'll read it out really quick because I've been off social media. Wanted to stay away from social media before anything happened. Um, this is what I said, and technically none of this actually happened. I said that going to bed now, I said this last night, but if WandaVision finale introduces only two of these things, it succeeded. Mutants, the idea of mutants. Never really realized outside of Monica. Never even says mutants. A multiverse. They introduced Peter Evans' situation. They don't talk around that idea, set from maybe an end credit scene at all. So that's out of the books. A Fox X-Men connection. Not at all. A new MCU character. No. I mean, well, no. It's not a new MCU character. A new MCU villain. No, does not show up here. House of M connection. That's the only one. And I said, and this is the other thing I said, two of those I'd be surprised with if it happened out of all those. Doctor Strange is a given, though, by the way. No. And again, like a part of the situation is that, yes, they shouldn't, build up their expectations. But the problem is that when you have a show that is budgeted well, have great actors in it and actresses in it, and you lay a foundation that this is going to be something epic and atmospheric that's going to change the scope of the MCU per Kevin Feige's words, per the cast's verbiage, you're going to set people up to perceive that this is going to be something bigger than it is. And as a condensed show, it didn't go anywhere outside of successfully naming Scarlet Witch, defining her character and her tragedy and owning it, giving us some good new characters, and well, not necessarily new, but reintroductions to characters, giving Monica her origin story, so to speak. And I mean, kind of MCU villain in Agnes, but was it worth it? I think that's the biggest question. And again, I could have come off of this, on a really, harsh rant, but I do appreciate some things in the show. I think that Elizabeth Olsen is amazing. I think she does some amazing acting in it. She owns the role. She plays it up. Paul Bettany works really good with her. I did like the kids. Like, they weren't too obnoxious. They actually were their own individual characters, and they all. Yeah, I mean, it also, like, the way that they are even created, like they have weight to them. This is the only thing that I don't like about this, is that they introduced an idea with Monica, like going into the hex and then coming out of it, but being able to leave with her clothes and stuff transformed. So are those clothes going to be still transformed? And why did they not try to make an amalgam of that later on? And also, there's something that happens, in with a Vision situation. But anyway, I just don't think it was. I don't know if the series was merited or worth watching. At the end of the day, I think that's the issue and the crux of this, is that I'm not mad. I'm a little disappointed because I feel like, I mean, some people will perceive that they wasted their time. I think the production was there. I think the soundtrack was there. I think the actors were there. The story just didn't amount to anything. You leave, amazing Easter eggs and amazing possibilities, but I don't think people are going to perceive this very well. I don't. I could be wrong. I mean, some of you guys might be like, "Oh, it was fine," but to me, if you're gonna do this story, just stay on the target. Don't try to draw people in with Easter eggs that don't come to any application. Nexus doesn't even get brought up. Like, it's just teased. It's kind of like the epitome of this show is basically what Spider-Man Far From Home did with what's my man's name? Mysterio and Peter Parker, when Peter was talking about the multiverse and the possibilities of that and what that meant. And then it was like, oh yeah, nah, this wasn't this. That's what this whole entire series ultimately amounted to. And so for that, unfortunately, this episode, I mean, because it didn't amount to anything, good acting, good emotional scenes. They definitely fully realized Scarlet Witch as a character. I won't deny any of that. I'll give this a 6 out of 10, 6.5. This is one of the most unimpactful finales, technically, for me. And if it wasn't for the end credit scenes, I wouldn't even I wouldn't have even given it a 6. I probably would have gave it like a 4 out of 10. Like, yeah, yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Keep it locked. JPS ain't gonna stop. Hope you guys okay. Peace, guys.